Hello, welcome back to the video. Sorry, I'm here. I am here going to react to my different username here. Let's see, that's what his username is. But he's actually one of my favorite YouTubers for a long time actually, and you should go check him out because he makes really cool Lego guns and yeah. But if you're not into that Lego gun stuff, still go check him out because he does other stuff. He has I don't know. I think he does that. He also does other stuff. Well, I'm gonna react to his latest video or his newest video, whatever. That he actually doesn't upload a lot because he's too busy making Lego guns. This one is actually from 2 months ago, so let's dive right in.
Hey guys, how's it going? It is my different username here, and today we'll be covering a weapon that helped bring the British Army out of uttermost desperation when an entire weapons cache was left and taken over by the Germans in Dunkirk during World War II. It's a simple yet effective design and has proven itself very worthy to continue to serve the Royal Army in other conflicts beyond that. So, here we have the Sten Mark II submachine gun made out of Lego.
That's really cool.
So, the Sten Mark II submachine gun, or more simply referred to as just the Sten, was part of the call to arms from Britain needing new infantry weapons to replace the ones that were lost after the Battle of Dunkirk in 1940. It was designed by both Major Reginald Shepherd and Harold Turpin, and they worked under multiple facilities, including the Royal Small Arms Factory, which is where that acronym of Sten actually originates. From the names of the weapons designers, S being Shepherd, T being Turpin, and EN being Enfield. As well, there's always been quite a few variants for the Sten, going from the Mark I to our model right here, the Mark II, and even goes all the way up to Mark VI, made as late as 1944, and they stopped using the weapon officially around the 1960s. But besides the need for the Sten during the time, the British were always pushing for a new weapon system to be manufactured on their own terms, and had previously bought Thompson submachine guns for about $230 each, which compared to the Sten's production cost of $10 seems crazy. But with how cheap it is, you definitely get the bare minimum with it. An open bolt action, all metal built, and crudely welded together. And frankly, even when holding the Lego version, you already know that this weapon is definitely not the most comfortable to use. And especially when it comes to how you hold this weapon as well. Right now, I'm holding it by the bottom of the trigger group cover, which I find to be the most effective spot to hold with a gun like this, but you'll still have people trying to hold it by the magazine instead, which most will tell you not to for multiple reasons, but regardless, I wanted to bring up my example of why I don't find holding the gun by the magazine to be efficient. Here, I have some dude I found on the road, and we'll start off by holding the Sten by the cover, and as you can see, the arms stay very close to the body and form a more natural rifle stance, whereas holding it by the mag and putting out your left arm actually completely takes the stock away from the shoulder, but sinking it back in causes the arm to do this. And just cause, I wanted to try the weird way that you hold the MP28 in Battlefield 5, and this is what it looks like when you're trying to practically use that. So, I'll say it right now, I definitely prefer the traditional grip way more than I do just grabbing it by the magazine. So,
Yeah,
first off, we could take a look here at the trigger area and lower receiver, and we could even see the trigger that can pivot and move, as well as the fire selector for the Sten. And this was a really good use for these 1x1 letter tiles that I just recently picked up. One of them being R for repetition or semi-auto, and the other one being A for automatic or full auto. And there are other details of lettering, just like the magwell right here that says the whole name of the gun. But besides that, this is essentially where all the functionality of the trigger group on the real weapon is all held together. And moving back, we could take a look at this T-type metal stock that's pretty standard on these types of Stens. And I gotta say, I am so happy with how this turned out. I had this idea of using Technic pins with these 1x4 arches and some 1x1 plates as well, and it all worked out amazingly. And now I have these perfect circle cutouts, not just for the grip, but the plate too. And even getting this to work was kind of a challenge, but some techniques that I learned from building the DL44's mounting system helped out here, even considering the upside down techniques being used. But I'll say one of the worst things about this stock has to be the way it mounts onto the gun. And if you didn't know, part of the disassembly of the Sten includes the ability to remove the stock piece, so I wanted to make that a feature on my build by adding this return spring cap on the back, and I gotta say, it's just not really all that well designed based off of what I had to use, but besides that, it's at least a pretty decent looking stock and can even be swapped out for the skeleton pistol grip, which is another option for anyone who would want to utilize the Sten for maybe more of a pistol roll, although you would definitely still need to hold the gun with two hands, considering all the weight that's in front of it. But just like attaching it earlier, it's somewhat easy to take this one piece.
If you had like another one on the other side, you would have more ammo and like two, what's it called? Barrels. But it would look like a crossbow.
And put the other stock piece back in and just run this. Now we could talk about the magazine for the Sten, because it actually has some very interesting info about it that I'm not sure a lot of people even really know about. So, currently for almost all magazines made for the Sten, they start out life as 32 round magazines. But due to some issues that people can run into, like maybe having too much spring pressure in the magazine or bad feed ramps, most people would think to maybe not hold the gun by the magazine, or rather run shorter magazines instead. But only 32 round magazines were ever made for the Sten back then, so a lot of people got creative and started making conversions for the magazine by essentially turning it from a 32 round double stack magazine into a 20 round single stack mag, effectively cutting down on the spring pressure, weight, and ammo costs. Pretty great ingenuity if you ask me, but you're probably wondering, how does this translate into my LEGO magazine? So the magazine release is powered by the top of this pen spring here, and it's actually pretty decently designed, and with just the press of the release, the mag will drop easily out of the housing, which is not at all realistic to the real life Sten, but neither is the whole mag well being able to twist inward for disassembly. So honestly, I'm actually really proud of how this looks. I think this whole magazine housing and magazine both look amazing together. Okay, so hear me out. You know it wouldn't be a video of mine if I didn't cover the bolt for this gun. And it definitely would not be a video of mine if it didn't do this. That's right. Just like my other weapons in the past, this works off of an open bolt action just like the real Sten, and you can even see that more when the bolt is taken out. And I had this little channel running on the side of the gun to help make the hidden rubber band system work in a similar action to the real gun. Only thing though is that the bolt does run off of a rubber band system, and the return spring actually runs off its own spring. The original plan when I was first designing this was to put one huge spring into the weapon system to make it work just like the real Sten would, but an idea like that would really need a lot more thought to make that honestly work, so I just went with the simpler route. Also, the trigger here does run off of a sear system as well, which I thought was pretty cool and can allow the bolt to fully ride over it and lock itself up into the safety notch, so you can either safely reload the weapon or just have it stored away. Besides all that, the bolt really is just fun to mess around with. Now moving forward, we have the barrel assembly, and this is the standard configuration for most Sten Mark IIs, and they include this barrel shroud piece and 7.7-inch barrel, but can also be swapped out for another piece, and that of something pretty unique. Unique like this giant foot-long suppressor at the end, claiming it now as a Sten Mark II S. And believe it or not, I have actually shortened this suppressor quite a bit because the real-life SOE suppressors are around 22 inches in length, which is definitely a lot more weight than I would like to have in front of this gun. And this type of configuration right here can even work with the other pistol grip as well, which is great if you've always wanted literally the worst suppressed pistol ever made. But won't lie, as cool as this is, I would prefer to just run the rifle version if anything. And finally, we have the iron sights for the Sten, which I gotta say are really basic overall, but man, I am really happy with the way they turned out, and honestly, they ended up looking just like the real sights on the gun. But hear me out, marksmanship, when it comes to the Sten, has never been its strong suit, and it's partly because of the open bolt system, that your aim could actually be easily pulled away just from the huge mass of the bolt going forward and striking the cartridge. But besides that, there's something about these simplistic iron sights that I just find so awesome looking. I don't know what it is, but to me, these things are really cool, and even my personal favorite. So, in conclusion, the Sten does have a few flaws here and there, but it succeeds in what it tries to do, and that is to be cheap, to be easy to use, and to help save Britain. But dialing back a little bit, this gun was honestly super fun to finally make a video on. It's always been just this really cool looking gun to me personally, and always had this really awesome spy feel to it, even though
Yeah, it
it's
does.
probably very impractical to use in that type of situation.
Yeah,
But
it's very,
another
very
interesting fact about this
A
is that
silenced
this was
pistol.
actually the first gun I built and designed when I started streaming on Twitch, and in fact was designed and then just ignored for about 2 years now until I finally told myself to make a video on it recently. And I'm really proud to see just how far we've come along actually. Comparing this to the old stand that I've made in the past, I mean, goodness, it didn't even have an open bolt system. But anyways, this video definitely took a really long time to make, and I can only hope that it was all worth it in the end, and that you all have enjoyed.
Okay. Hope you enjoyed that video. Yeah. Hope you enjoyed. I'll be reacting to more. So, bye bye.